بهترین آرزوها خدمت شما بینندگان گرامی، شما که به تماشای برنامه راه آینده، برنامه حزب مشروطه ایران نشسته اید. در ادامه گزارش‌های برنامه نشست گروه‌های سیاسی در دانشگاه UCLA به گزارش بعدی ما، گزارش بخش سوم و پنل سوم می‌رسیم. در این پنل آقای بیژن کیان از اندیشکده آوای آزادی هستند که پژوهشگر استراتژیک و مسائل سیاسی می باشند. در این پنل افراد و کارشناس‌های خارجی و انگلیسی زبان شرکت دارند و یا داشتند که به مسائل سیاسی ایران و مسائل امکانات بررسی بعد از فروپاشی جمهوری اسلامی می‌پردازند. با یکدیگر نظاره‌گر هستیم.
ای مرز پرگوهر، ای مادر سرچشمه هنر، دور از تو اندیشه بلا، آینده مانی و جاودان. ای دشمن از تو سنگ خاره ایمانم، جان من فدای خاک پاک میهنم. دارد این جان ما، آینده باد خاک ایران ما. در راه تو ای ارزشی دارد این جان ما، آینده باد خاک ایران ما. ای ایران، ای مرز پرگوهر، ای مادر سرچشمه هنر، دور از تو اندیشه بلا، آینده مانی و جاودان. ای دشمن از تو سنگ خاره ایمانم، جان من فدای خاک پاک میهنم. مهر تو چون پیشم، دور از تو نیست اندیشم. در راه تو ای ارزشی دارد این جان ما، آینده باد خاک ایران ما.
کنفرانس آینده نگری برای ایران جوان به میزبانی حزب مشروطه ایران لیبرال دموکرات در دانشگاه UCLA برگزار شد. این نشست در ادامه همگرایی مونیخ و با تاکید بر اصول شاهزاده رضا پهلوی بر توانمندسازی زنان و جوانان ایران در دوران گذار دموکراتیک متمرکز بود و با همکاری حزب سکولار دموکراتیک ایرانیان جبهه هفتم آبان و اندیشکده آوای آزادی شکل گرفت. به عنوان اولین سوال، پیام شما برای نوروز 1404 چی هست؟
پیام برای 1404 سال آزادیه. آنچه که میشه پیش بینی کرد از اتفاقات داخل ایران، آنچه که میشه پیش بینی کرد از اتفاقات جهانی، میشه پیش بینی کرد که امسال حقیقتا سال آزادی است. برای که جمهوری اسلامی به ته خط رسیده، هر ترفندی داشته استفاده کرده، هر رئیس جمهوری باید عوض بکنه کرده، هر بهانه باید می آورده و نتونسته واقعا به مردم رو حتی سری سوزنی راضی کنه. بعد من معتقد جهان هم بود، من معتقدم متحد شدن به علیه جمهوری اسلامی، برای که 7 اکتبر در 2 سال پیش اون کلید رو زد که نشون داد که اگر جمهوری اسلامی دست باز در جهان داشته باشه با چه رطابت قلبی میتونه راه بیفته، کشتار کنه و نیروهای نیابتیش رو راه بندازه. و به همین دلیل من معتقدم از 7 اکتبر جهان تحملش در مورد جمهوری اسلامی پایان رسید و امروز نشانه‌هایی می‌بینیم که همه دنیا در این مورد دارن با هم متفق می‌شوند.
از سازمان‌های متعددی که در برگزاری این برنامه با ما همراه بودند: سازمان سرباز، ایران سانس، پروژه امید ایران، انجمن اروپایی ایرانی برای صلح و دوستی، پاکان، شورای مدیریت گذار، سازمان دموکراتیک یارسان، سازمان همبستگی ملی برای ایران هما، جنبش وحدت ملی ایرانیان، انجمن سکولار دموکرات ایران، اتحاد آوازینو، انجمن خورشید، سازمان اتحاد برای ایران، جنبش زنان ایران، سازمان زنان ایران مقیم آمریکا، گروه خوارزمی، امریکن ایرانیان فور دموکراسی، کانون خلبانان نیروی هوایی شاهنشاهی. در بخش اول 2 پنل اول به زبان فارسی بود، پنل سوممون به زبان انگلیسی هست. Today's first 2 panels were conducted in Persian and our third panel will be in English. It will feature 5 prominent guests who are significant figures within the Iranian and American community. Allow me to introduce and invite the speakers. The Honorable Bijan Kian, who is a twice Senate-confirmed former deputy lead for the Office of Director of National Intelligence for President Trump's transition team in 2016 and 17, and a former senior official of United States government. He led the largest portfolio of foreign investment for the state of California. He is a globally recognized senior executive in national security and trade. Lieutenant Colonel William D. Swanson, Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, and Bronze Star. Senior role in Middle East Defense Intelligence Agency. Liaison between U.S. military and Mexican government, currently active with U.S. government leadership. Nicholas W. Hofgren is a senior executive with experience operating private equity and emerging markets in enterprises. His senior executive experience includes bulge bracket banks like JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and others. He has additional experience in assets and portfolio of assets in the power, extractive, and manufacturing industries. Marcus Benayan, former security analyst for the Israeli government, accomplished author, university professor, and corporate senior executive. He is a strategic advisor to government officials, C-suite, and ultra-high net worth families. And Jordi Groyles held executive board member of 21 toll roads companies in 9 countries over 4 continents in 2000-2015. He's a seasoned senior executive on government-regulated, capital-intensive industries, highly exposed to complex negotiations and leadership with awarding and controlling authorities and other stakeholders. I welcome you, gentlemen, please.
Good afternoon again. Glad to be back. Thank you for joining us again after lunch, which is a difficult hour. I know some of you had to put in extra energy to back to the auditorium. I have to go back a little bit and give you a little background and then explain to my colleagues who are here what happened on the first 2 panels, which was conducted in beautiful Farsi language, but they had no idea what was being discussed, so we're going to cover that. But before that, I'm going to take you a little bit even further back and tell you a little bit about who I represent here today. About 7 years ago, Sam Kermanian, former Secretary General of the Iranian American Jewish Federation, called me and said, we need to put together an effort to have a thinking place where plans could be developed, issues could be discussed, and things can be done for the Iranian people with a 3 Iran vision that would reflect the voices of those who cannot be heard inside Iran, that we need to be able to support anyone who's supporting the Iranian people with an identity of no longer wanting and accepting the Islamic Republic. They want to keep the territorial integrity, as Saeed Jabari said, it's a non-negotiable issue. And they want to walk towards a secular democracy. And a secular democracy is defined as where the people are in charge, and they have to be satisfied with their government. They decide who governs them and how they govern them, and that's where the bosses are, the people of Iran. They have to be participating in the critical decisions affecting their lives, and this should be measurable. They have to have equal opportunity, not equal wealth or equal income. That's not possible. It was tried and failed time after time. They need to have an equal opportunity in all the critical things in a society, from security to education to healthcare. They have to have equal opportunity, economic opportunity, not the insiders and outsiders. That's the kind of thing that the people of Iran want. They want to have the freedom to choose at all times, at all times. And Prince Reza Pahlavi, who is the standard bearer of change today, we all follow his thoughts. Not just a person. This is not a person-centric. He's said it many times. We're moving towards a system-centric. A system-centric operates on thoughts. The thoughts that he has put forward today, we're following here. Those are the principles of how to define freedom-seeking people of Iran. So that's what Sam wanted to put together, an organization. Well, an organization needs resources, people, financial resources. We have the people, no financial resources. So Sam taught us how to do things with very little. But very little is essential, and it has to come from people who have been supporting the Institute for Voices of Liberty for the past 7 years. So it's a good opportunity that I would name the individuals who've been supporting the Institute activities. No, we don't receive any government support. No organization, any government supporting the Institute for Voices of Liberty, but the individuals who've been extremely helpful are here today, and I'd like to recognize them. Patricia Houston has been with us for a long time. Patricia Houston has been with us for a long time. She's been a fantastic supporter, a steady supporter. Art Fund has been supporting the Institute, Taqi al-Raza specifically, and Nima Bakhtiari, who's here today. We're grateful to you. Behzad Kianmat, Jian Torkan, Alex Moradi, Abraham Simhai, Shahram Yaqubzadeh, and then the Kermanian family themselves, Cody, Betty, and Sam, my dear brother. I'm delighted to see Mr. Afshin Afshinjan here, my dear friend, from all the way from Canada. Thank you. I know what you're doing. You're doing exactly what Prince Reza Pahlavi has said. 5 things that are essential. You're following those agendas. That's what we're doing as well. Hopefully we all do what we can and deliver the success to the standard bearer of change for Iran. Now what I'd like to do is explain these 2 posters that you see on the stage. One in English, the other one in Farsi. For my friends, the one in Farsi says, all together at the same time, we speak. Why? What Islamic Republic today is most afraid of is not that you protest and I write letters and you write letters, and we shout and you shout. Because as long as we don't do it at the same time, it's not going to hurt the Islamic Republic. They are very, very resilient. We each have one arrow in our quiver. If we take these arrows, place them in the bow, and just wait for a command, Colonel Swanson, to be issued, to let go of the arrows all at once, the Islamic Republic will not have a chance. That's what these posters show. The arrow has just one tip, all together at the same time. We have to understand the synchronicity and the impact of what that does. This is something the Islamic Republic is very afraid of. If we don't do that, we each send our single arrow to the heart of Islamic Republic. It won't kill him. They will live enough to torture the Iranian people even more. So let's do that. That's the poster, and that's what it means. That's why the Constitutional Party of Iran, Institute for Voices of Liberty, and 7th Awan are here today to do what Prince Reza Pahlavi said we need to do, to get ready and say it at the same time, to work together, all following one standard bearer. Why? Because the arrow has just one tip, and that's the way we're moving forward. So what are we here today? We are here today to talk about the issues. Today is the International Day of Women. It's important to recognize if there was one issue inside Iran that is the most unfair, most unjust issue, is how this government for 46 years has been dealing with women. And if you wonder, my dear colleagues on the panel, what was being said on the women's panel, it was all about the fundamental flaw in the society today in Iran is that the religion counts the rights of a woman as those half of that of a man. Now, this is not something unusual in the history. In the United States, women didn't have the right to vote. In Switzerland, women didn't have the right to vote, but many years ago, these issues were solved. Society progressed. Women in Iran rose to very important levels of cabinet members. Every place in society, women were leading. And today, a woman has half the rights, only because that's what the religion. So they were talking on the women's panel about the rights of women, about the horrible things that happen that are embedded, entrenched, intrinsic to their belief system, that honor killings take place in Iran. You wouldn't believe it, but it does. That, uniformed individuals brutally beat up on women. They were talking about all of that. The panel prior to that, and the panel concluded that these things will be stopped by the hands of the women, the brave women of Iran are doing the convince. Every day, I want to get up and just bow to the women of Iran. Our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, they're fighting. They're getting shot. They're losing their eyes. So, what are we to do? Get together and see how we can help them. To get rid of this brutal, incompetent, institutionally corrupt Islamic Republic, we need all of them. All of them. And in order to follow the message put forward by Prince Reza Pahlavi, the standard bearer of change, 5 points. One of them is expedite the fallout. How do we do that? By telling a story that says, well, you need to get over it. Those who haven't killed anyone, those who haven't stolen anyone's property, those who have no personal complaints, valid, credible complaint against them, you're fine, keep your jobs. We saw what happened in Iraq when rash decisions were made to declassify the Iraqi military. We got rid of every single person. What do? They have to feed their families. They go get hired by somebody to build a road bomb, put it on the side of the road in Iraq. Bad mistake. Bad mistake. Our forces captured the 13-year-old on the side of the road, somewhere near Baghdad, planting a roadside bomb. He said, why do you want to kill American soldiers? He said, I don't want to kill American soldiers. Why do you do this? He said, I got paid to do it. How much? $25. What do you do with that money? I save it. To do what? The answer will shock you. He said, to save my money and to go to America. That's what the 13-year-old Iraqi said. There are literally millions of Iranian youth who don't hate Americans. They don't hate the American military. They want freedom. They want to make their own decisions. So we're here today to talk about, tell them, give them that confidence. When Prince Reza Pahlavi says expedite the fallout, he means that the people of Iran, we have no authority. We can't tell people to forgive anything or anything like that. But the people of Iran do. We need to repeat that message. That's what they want to say. That's what they say to the IRGC members and the police force, crash forces of people who beat up on them. They say, if you haven't killed anyone, keep your job. But if you have, run. If you've stolen property, if you have hurt people, run. Justice is coming. This is not a joke. It's a true fact. Justice is coming. But don't worry. Come join the people if you haven't killed anyone, if you haven't stolen anything, if you haven't hurt someone's reputation. The second thing is that the fight between those who left, like me, and those who remained, like millions of people, 80% of them under 40 years old in Iran, we have to stop fighting. We have to stop pointing fingers at each other and say, you're bad because you started this revolution that sent me outside of Iran and I lost my homes and my friends and all of that. That was a long time ago. We have to forgive and forget. They also must not look at us as those who got up and ran when things got hot, which is true. We did get up and leave. They have the right to say, you didn't stay here. Now help us. We should say, how can I help? We're here to talk about that today. Thirdly, if you talk to a under 40-year-old, 80% of the population in Iran are under 40 years old. They will tell you, what's really important to me is I need a job. Don't tell me anything else. I'm not interested in anything else. First, I need a job. I need to have a life. Like a farmer that has about 40 to 50 chances in life to be able to grow a crop. Some of them are successful, some of them are not. But this 40-year-old sitting there saying, I have lost 40 years, 20 of which I could have been planting something, building the future. It was stolen from me. How do I get it back? How do I get it back? My friends here are going to talk about that today. We're going to do that in some detail. We want to talk to that 40-year-old inside Iran. And again, we cannot do enough of this. This is just the beginning of a conversation with the people of Iran. But let me just say this. As a student of history, we face a reality. You want jobs? I say to the 40-year-old, your government for the past 46 years has burnt every opportunity you could have for your future. Your country is owing a lot of money to its central bank. They're printing money like crazy. Today, Iranian currency, if it drops on the floor, I'm not sure the cost of picking it up is going to be more than what you find on the floor. That's a misery. That's awful. The government has stolen your future. Unfortunately, population growth is nearing almost dangerous levels. You know what happens? When you're in a country, people who work are much smaller in numbers than those who don't work. Those who work have to support those who don't work. There's a point in a country's history that it becomes irreversible. The older people cannot reproduce. The population starts going down. More people die than being born. You will never go back. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the real danger Iran faces today. So there's no time. There's no time for bickering and saying, oh, I love Iran more than you do, so let me tell you how I'm going to do this. No. No. Work together. Be humble. And it's hard sometimes to be humble, but Saeed Jabari and I know what it takes to be humble. We are humbled in life by the enormity of challenges we face. And we need to be aware of that. We need to work together. We need to stop saying, look, I'm smarter than you. I've got better ideas. No. You all have great ideas. We all have to listen. We all have to work together.
با یکدیگر به یک موزیک ویدیو نگاه میکنیم و باز میگردیم.
ششم فروردین در خاک ایران زمین ستاره ای درخشید پرنور شد و زرین خجسته روز خرداد و روز راستی شکفت به از عشا و راستی یقین بدان کس نگفت از فره ایزدیست آبادی و مهر و داد زرتشت اسفند تمام راه بهی مژده داد اندیشه گفت و کردار نیکی بود تو را یاد پیام او دلپسند کرده باش و هوشیار ششم فروردین خاک ایران زمین ستاره ای درخشید پرنور شد و زرین بهار سبزگاتا سرودی آسمانی بخوان چو بلبل من سازاد در جهانی در باغ بی خزانت اندیشه های پاک است هدیه تو به جهان آزادی انسان است از تو ابرو خرسند از سخن و کار تو امروز منم هم پیمان خوشی دست یار تو پیروز و سربلندم گویندگان راهم نام تو می درخشد چون مهر تابناک که مزدا هستی بخش توانا ایران همیشه جایی بلال زرتشتی محصول زایش او ستاره‌ای درخشید
participate, hoping to come back to a different reality. So Iranian people need to be respected for the decisions they're made. They need to be held accountable. But at the same time, accountability means that you're now in charge too. It's part of your change. You're here on a Saturday. I look around and spoke with most of you, a lot of you, you've done well. A lot of people, diasporas who live from Bulgaria, who live from different countries in the world, are not going to stand here sitting on a Saturday for a few hours talking about how to make their former country better. They're like, no, I left, I'm gone, I'm doing well, I have grandchildren here. I've lived my life, why do I care? And I think there's two exceptions to that story. Those are Israelis and Iranians. I speak with Israelis, it's always the same thing. Always worried about the homeland, what's going on. And that relationship is an interesting one. It's a long historic relationship. The only Persian, the only foreigner to be included in the Torah, the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, is Koresh, Cyrus the Great. He's actually named as a Messiah almost, and a saint. He's the one who rebuilt the temple. So that relationship, that history, that pride that a lot of Iranians still have, I'm a bit concerned about the younger generation. I taught University of Toronto. I had a lot of Iranian students of diaspora. Their parents, they were born in Canada. They will introduce themselves as Canadians. They will neglect to mention the fact they're Iranians. Because for them, being Iranian is being defined as a terrorist, as Islamist, as extremist, as axis of evil, as people who are not contributing to society. They couldn't speak of their history. They couldn't speak of the legacy they had. And it's not because their parents didn't tell them that. It's because society that they live in. I lived in Canada for 20 years. I never understood what does it mean, this melting pot. Sorry, this mosaic. Just be you. And I understood when my son went to school and they asked him to bring a food to represent his culture. And my son looks at me and is like, well, Mom is Polish, Jewish, Irish, and German. You are Italian, Israeli, Moroccan, of Lebanese descent. And we eat a lot of Persian foods. Do I bring kebab? I'm like, that's a great idea. I'll ask Mona to make some for you. And he brought it to the class, and they didn't know what to do with it. So that's very artificial and not useful. So when speaking with Iranian, and people say, well, you're in the diaspora, you don't have a right to speak about what's going on in Iran. Absolutely false. Iranians are looking up to you, and I speak with a lot of Iranians on the internet. They're looking up to you, not only admiring your success, admiring what you have done, they're looking for guidance. They understand, they feel trapped. You were home invaded 46 years ago, and you were tossed to the street and you somehow survived. They're still in that nightmare. They're still there. They're living with a guy who assaulted them. So now again, as a psychologist, a psychiatrist, I can tell you that's not a way to heal. So when Iran moves to the next stage, when the Ayatollahs go home, whichever home, the one with the virgins or maybe the one in Kuwait, I don't know, they can choose. I'm not picking. Russia, yeah, Assad there's a few condos beside it. I'm sure they know each other, so it'll be great. And I hear them like rock. But again, going back to the vision, and we talked about a platform. What's a platform? Why do you need a platform? Why do you need something to be prepared? And I think that we saw it live, and historically. If you asked me 5 years ago if Syria will cease to exist, I would say, well, probably not. The leadership is strong, the army is strong, the collusion between the army and the Assad family and the business people, it's a tiny, evil kind of cabal that they established, minus the wife. Apparently she's very nice, the British girl. But at the same time, it collapsed, and I'm not going to take credit for Israel, but it's what happened with Hezbollah, what happened with Hamas, what happened in the Middle East because of the war that has been engaged in there. So how does it reflect on Iran? How is Iran going to be affected by it? And I think that one of the most important things we need to learn is that the people of Iran, or the leaders of Iran today, and the 40-year-old that we talked about the jobs, look at Syria and see that in 10 days, that tiger the supposed scary regime collapsed and became nothing. But let's not forget that Assad took all the money, a lot of gold. Apparently one of there were few planes that left with most of it to Russia. So it wasn't that haphazard as the media would like you to believe. There was a plan and he executed it. And Iran will probably have the same issue. I live in New York City. Okay, we can go on a little real estate tour. And because you speak Farsi, we'll stand outside of different buildings, condos in New York. Will knows that too. And most of the younger people that live in those condos are cousins and nephews and kids of mullahs and people of the regime. So the money is there already in New York City. So we need to know where the money is going. So I'm going to go back to why platform. So when Syria collapsed, people are like, well, now it's great, Assad is gone, but we have this Al-Jalani who took, and I know Al-Jalani, I met him. Very nice guy if you like people like him. He's not nice. He put a suit on, which is great. He is now meeting with world leaders. He's been entertained by Sarkozy and, not Sarkozy, Macron and the rest of them. Same thing, same thing. And here's the issue. This is what's going to happen. If Iran collapses tomorrow, without a platform, without a real plan, without the strong opposition and people lining up and saying, here's an alternative to that 40-year-old man and woman who needs a job, those opportunists, those people will, they will take over. And Iran will go into another 46 years of hell, worse than what they saw before. So planning it's always good to plan. My late father, may he rest in peace, used to say, hope is great, but plan counts. We can hope. I hope things will be fine. But if I make a plan, there's a good chance it's going to be. So what we propose is to create a plan. We're being sensitive to Iranian, but as a psychologist, I think the entire country needs to go into therapy, massive therapy. Understanding that in order to move forward in 2025 in world markets, incorporate the way you're all business people, a lot of you here, you understand the intricacy of the finance world, and our distinguished friend can explain further. It's not 1901 anymore. It's not the British, not the American. We have a new president who has made a few statements, and we'll speak about the ramification of some of the statements, who might make everything that we say here a bit irrelevant if we don't move fast. Because he's a businessman too. He understands that Iran is probably the biggest business opportunity of the century, of the millennium. Never ever in the history of the world you had a population of so young, 80% under 40, 97% literacy rate, engineers, chemists, you name it, top human resources. Because we look at a lot of places like in Africa, that trillions of dollars were invested and it's all gone to nothing. And the reason is because there was no human resources. Iran has the human resource that is unbelievable. And people say, well, there's no opportunity for women. I said, well, there is here in America, and the diaspora will have to reflect that. I have one more minute. So, talking about the lessons of the past is important. As I said, you should never forget. You never forget the past. You're not going to move forward if you forget the past. You become complicit. But you need to sort out your past. My late father, who had a very interesting life, when I was 18, I confronted him. I was a man. I was going to go to the army soon, and I will show him. I will tell him. And I said horrible things to him. And when he had any kids in the audience? No. when he had a very foul mouth. When I ended the conversation, he looked at me, he looked up and he said, "You either write a best-selling book, or get the fuck away from my face." I was so offended. I was like, I will show him. He was right. There was really nothing to say anymore. I've said my piece. I released my anxieties about it. I told him how I felt. It didn't help. Today when I work with CEOs and prime ministers and one president, I say to them, you need to understand one, if you're going to relitigate the past, be ready to pay the price. Because I don't know if any of you have been involved in litigation. Nobody goes home the winner, except for the lawyers. So we don't want to litigate the past. Like, do we want the mullahs to stay in Iran and prosper? Probably not. Do we want them out? Yes, but we can keep them out of our institutions, your institutions. We can keep them out of, no budget for you. You're not getting paid. Like the good old days. Pass the plate, get the money this way. Thank you.
So Marcus, Marcus, don't be affected by it. I'm going to represent the 40-year-old. And this 40-year-old comes from a background that he was a worshiper. He used to get up and, worship whatever symbol of power you put in front of him, he would worship it. But that was my generation and the generation before. This 40-year-old is not a worshiper. He's a questioner. He's a fierce questioner. He's like one of those students you hate. Like I spent some time in the classroom. You know those students where they come and pick on you and they say, "Hey, Prof, I didn't understand a word of what you said. What do you mean? Why did you say that? You know what? So-and-so, Smith, whatever, said this, and you described it exactly the opposite. Reconcile it for me. They're pests. So I want to play the pest today. I'm the 40-year-old that says, okay, so you're telling me you understand why we're skeptical. You understand why we have problems. Describe to me, I live in a country where my rights are being taken away, my opportunities are being taken away, and I get it. You want to come and say, I want to put together a platform that makes that job possible. And I'm going to go to Nick in a minute and ask him, where do we get all these possibilities? Because we want to know who's going to invest, how. This is a mess. This is a country where corruption is in every single aspect of the bureaucracy. You cannot get anything done without a bribe. This is a very difficult task. In a few sentences, walk us through the stages of the day after. What does that day look like in a country that's turbulent? Give us creation of a job cycle. Tell me a story about how a job is created. Any job. It doesn't have to be a mega project like Jordan, but tell me your imagination of how I'm looking for a job. I'm 40 years old, I'm late, I live with my mom because I can't afford rent. I had a job, but the company I work for hasn't paid me for 6 months. They don't have money. Now tell me, how long is it going to take for me to get a job in an environment like that? Realistically, you know the answer. Give me that imagination, please.
If there was a solution that is magic, well, that's what the revolution promised. Don't forget, Khomeini in Paris, on the carpet, sitting there, making stories. I think that realism has to land. That 40-year-old has been contending with every Iranian in Iran that you speak to had this internal struggle between the Islamiyat, the Iraniyat. What am I? Am I a product of the Islam, or am I the product of the Iranian tradition?
Help him with offering this platform.
Yes.
What do you want him to do in participating with the platform?
Before he needs to be, this is what I think that in order for it to engage in any platform, you have to come willing, open, and understanding that this is here to help.
So another question for you. What we want to do here, offering this platform, many other groups want to do this. I see Imam Akbari sitting there last week at the conference, discussing exactly the same things with the same objectives. They did a great job. Actually, I didn't get to go, but I heard about it. How can we encourage these circles to find common areas like the Venn diagram and put those common areas together? And how am I going to work with Nima? How are we going to work with them to bring him in, make this platform stronger?
As opposed to Kamala Harris, I don't like Venn diagrams. She really loves them.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think the platform itself should be based like an open source. Those of you in technology understand that an open source platform means there's the basis that helps you with the program, and you have to contribute or custom build your platform in order to fit. So when you come to the 40-year-old and say, you're like the programmer, I will give you a platform that you can have a job tomorrow. You have to bring to me what you can do. What is it? What is the code you want to put into it? And part of the code is respect. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's something that a lot of Iranians that I speak to say to me, I used to have a pension. It disappeared. I used to have respect at work. It all disappeared because somebody snitched on me.
در اینجا وقت برنامه امروز ما به پایان میرسد. از اینکه نظاره‌گر برنامه ما بودید بسیار بسیار متشکرم و به خاطر داشته باشید در راهی که در پیش داریم پیروزی از آن ماست. همه شما را به خدای ایران، به خدای عشق، به خدایی که جز عشق و محبت چیزی ندارد می‌سپاریم. ایران همیشه با ماست. با ما باشید.
بهشت و مادری وطن طلا و گوری منی زمین مکنی وطن زهیر و زمری تیاب گنج زرمنی تچا بهار و جیونی مچین چگوی نساگتا گوشه کے تیر لگتا بلوچ کو